an innovative knowledge management platform that continues to advance the science, technology, and innovation input into businesses, and they see what we can do with the outcomes of our research and development going forward. So today's meeting is not going to be an exemption. That's why we cannot be talking about knowledge economy without all these basics that we've just mentioned. Permit me to say that we're going to be using this platform today, and we'll make sure that all the details that were given to us by our presenters are worked upon, not just a talk show. So we know essentially we expect a quite number of people, and because of the challenge of the network, some might coming in and going out. That's not going to be a challenge. At the right time for the presentation, our guest speakers will be allowed to share their screen, and we can work with them. At the same time, if the need be that we need to share from our end, we're going to do that. Let me start by appreciating Samsify. Samsify Technologies is our strategic technical partners that actually going to manage this platform. While we are actually going to, we are the one that we, at S2B Nigeria, we continue to do the administration and operations of this platform. So part of what we intend to do going forward is to actually have great partners that can support us. Our plan is to make sure that today, between 9 and 9:30 that we've started, we've opened the platform in Nigeria now. It's 9:36 a.m. In the next 20 minutes, we're going to allow people to do to come in and possibly do their self-introduction, and we do a bit of red carpet. And at the same time, we request everybody that has come in to go into the chat box and just do your self-introduction. The reason for that is that you cannot mention everybody's name by the time a lot of people come in now. And we have only 20 minutes for that. By 9:50, we're going to do a bit of agenda setting. And by 9:55 Nigerian time, we're going to read the citation of the first presenter for today, after which the presenter is going to be invited. So we're going to do that one subsequently and make sure that we give 30 minutes to the presenter to speak to us. During the speech, it is expected that you just take note of your question, and possibly if you are going to forget any of the questions or comments, you type them in the chat box for remembrance. Otherwise, just keep your question, and we're going to take just 5 minutes in between to do a small wrap-up for the first presentation. Then we're going to allow the second presenter, after reading the citation of the second presenter, to do his presentation. We'll do that for the third one too. So in essence, our presentation is going to be for 1 hour, 30 minutes at a stretch, after which we allow our members to discuss for 45 minutes. Then we come back and wrap up the session. Basically, that is what we're going to do. So it is not allowed that people are going to interject when our presenters are actually speaking. So just take note of everything that you need to speak to, and you're going to have that opportunity to do the needful. Like I said, I sincerely welcome His Excellency Ambassador David Roy. Ambassador David is a global expert, and I don't think I need to do much of introduction. By the time we read the citation, you're going to see how rich it is. He's an ambassador of to UNESCO, representing Kitts and Nevis Island. That's a British island, very close to the UK. So, and I have been doing that for a quite long time, and he's going to tell us, and you can see that in his experience when he speaks to us. We're going to read the full citation. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. I don't know, maybe you join us from France or maybe Belgium this morning. I don't know.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and greetings to you all. And yes, I'm broadcasting this morning from Paris in France. And so it's a nice sunny day here, which is unusual. So all goes well. Now, did you want me to to share my presentation deck. I'm having a little bit of a problem here in
That, Ambassador, that will not be a challenge when it is the right time for you to share.
Yeah.
The sharing platform is going to be activated, and
oh, I see. Okay,
give you the support that is required. So just to welcome you, thank you very much for speaking to us from France, Paris this morning. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I can see, thank you. You can mute yourself. I can see the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics and Research, University of Lagos in Nigeria, Professor Bola Obo. Professor Bola Obo is an R&D juggernaut anyway. Many directorates when it comes to the issue of R&D. Welcome this morning. Where are you speaking to us? And can you say hi so that people will know that you are around?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Very clearly, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak on this platform. Well, I'm not in Nigeria presently, but at least I'm connected and I'm able to speak to you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, ma'am. Thank you have you this morning. And I think I have other people that have actually arrived. I can see the chairman, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Private University, Committee of Vice Chancellors and Registrar of Private University in Nigeria. That's Professor Kehi Adeyemo, who doubles as the Vice Chancellor of Lead City University in Nigeria. Prof, are you there? Can you say hi to us? Prof, are you there? Anyway, I can see his contact. Yeah, Prof, can you say hi to us?
Yeah, good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning. Yes.
Yeah, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. Thank you for the opportunity to be on this platform.
It's a pleasure to welcome you, sir. Thank you. We are honored that you join us early in the morning. So thank you very much. I can see the Director of African Centers of Excellence on Data Science from University of Rwanda. That's my own friend, Professor Charles Ranga. Can you say hi to us? Professor Charles from Rwanda.
Yes, thank you.
Can you say hi to us?
Yes, good morning. Charles Ruranga, as the chair said, from University of Rwanda. Yeah, good morning to all.
So it's my pleasure that you made it here early enough. So and it's going to be a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think I can see some other names that are prominent here. Who is Suleiman? I can see Suleiman. Who is this one joining us? So can Suleiman speak to us, please? Okay, Professor Adebambo, you can speak to us.
Good morning, everyone. This is Suleiman Mustafa.
Morning. Oh, Professor Akin Adesheyiwa. Professor Adesheyiwa, can you say hi to us? Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. Just introduction. Let us know you are here. That's the period we have. We have 8 minutes. Finish this.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Professor Akin Adesanywa from Nigeria, the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, Obafemi Awolowo. Thank you very much for the privilege to be part of this team.
Thank you very much. We are honored to have you, Prof. Yeah. I can see Danladi Ibrahim. Can you do your self-introduction? So please kindly mute yourself if you are not speaking. Danladi Ibrahim.
My name is Danladi Ibrahim. It's a pleasure to be in the midst of tall shoulders to learn about the knowledge economy.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you, Danladi Ibrahim. Then I can say, Professor Adebambo, are you here now? Can you speak to us? Professor Adebambo. So Adesoji Oderinde, please kindly speak to us.
Yes, my name is Professor Adesoji Oderinde. I'm a professor of internal medicine at Moore School of Medicine in the US. I'm part of Osun Development Association, so I'm just trying to get some knowledge and see how I can contribute. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us. We know it's it's hard for you to join us from the US at this time, if not because of your extra commitments. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can see Dr. Tolulope Gbadamosi. Can you speak to us? Tolulope Gbadamosi.
Good
Can you
morning.
speak to us? Yeah.
Good morning. Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody. I'm from University of Ibadan. I'm very happy to be here to learn about the knowledge economy. I'm also in economics and I want to learn more. Thank you, sir.
God bless you for joining us. Thank you. We are honored to have you. Alimat Ibrahim. Alimat Ibrahim, go ahead with your self-introduction.
Good morning. Hello, good morning. All. My name is Alimat Ibrahim. I'm a manager for Nigeria. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you very much, DHL Nigeria. Thank you very much. We are honored to have you, Madam Ibrahim. Jacob Ijai Mamza. Jacob Ijai Mamza, can you speak to us so that we can know who are those people on the call?
I'm Dr. Jacob Ijai Mamza, a veteran and a private practitioner, currently residing in Maiduguri. I'm happy to join the community knowledge of this program today.
So thank you very much. Joining us from Maiduguri, that's Northeast Nigeria. We are honored to have you, and it's going to be a privilege to work with you. Then we have, okay. So Kehinde Salami, go ahead and speak to us. Kehinde Salami.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kehinde Salami. It's a pleasure to be here among the scholars and professionals, seeking to learn more and to add to the ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Where are you joining us from, please?
I'm joining from OLAC, Integrated OLAC Group of Companies. It's a chain of business in Ilorin, in Nigeria.
Kwara State.
Yes, Ilorin, Kwara State, in Nigeria. Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sheriff Balogun. Mr. Sheriff Balogun. Mr. Sheriff Balogun, kindly speak to us. If you can hear us, please kindly speak to us. Then I see Aziz, just one name, Aziz. Aziz, please speak to us if you are there. Otherwise, Aisha Adafiruku, please kindly speak to us. Aisha Adafiruku, please kindly speak to us. Are you there? Okay, so without wasting much of our time, I think we've tried as much as possible. We continue to allow people, please, the IT team support us to make sure that nobody is hanging unnecessarily at the lobby. I can see there are notifications of people that want to come in. Please kindly let us facilitate that for them. Like I did mention, we're going to move on to explain to us the essence of what we are trying to do today. And at the top of by 9:55, like I mentioned, we are going to be reading the citation of the first presenter, and we can actually invite him to make presentation. The IT team, by that time, we expect you to make sure that Professor His Excellency Ambassador Doi is allowed to actually share his slide. So please kindly work on the back end. Otherwise, we may need to share that for him. But like I said, today's session is going to be like, we usually have our section between 9:30 Nigerian time and 12:30. And what do we do during that section is to actually have nothing less than 3 speakers speaking to us for just 30 minutes, because we know how important people's time could be, and they will try to work around that to make sure that we deliver the best service and the value for people. We are doing this in Nigeria, and I think it's something that is very novel indeed in terms of knowledge economy worldwide is novel, but more importantly in this part of the world, it's something that all of us need to actually pay attention and see what is actually changing. Ordinarily, people believe that we agree that there is climate change, and that is for the nature itself. But there's economic change when it comes to human being and our society. So going into the future, we are very clear that the role that knowledge economy will play can never be underestimated. So it's only very few people that really understand what it's all about that will be actor and not just going to be a spectator in the new economies that is coming. And is already unfolding across the world, and we cannot continue to be a spectator. So that is why on our own knowledge management platform, which is innovative in nature, and we thank God sometimes for what COVID has brought, making sure that we can do this one virtually. It makes it for us to interconnect globally, and it's making the work a bit easier for us to actually share perspective across the world. More importantly, it's better let us see how the program will be run today. And in running the program, like we said, the first section will be between 10 and 10:30. We're going to be listening to Ambassador David Ambassador David by then. And after that, we're going to have like just 5 minutes of interplay. In between that 5 minutes, there's going to be a small wrap-up, like an interlude, and at the same time, the reading of citation of Professor Obo, who is going to be speaking to us for another 30 minutes. And after that, we're going to invite the Vice President of Nigeria Academy of Science in person of Professor Abubakar Sambo, former Director General, Energy Commission of Nigeria, former Vice Chancellor, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi. So, and after that, then we're going to open the floor for all of us to make contribution. And we're not going to hesitate to do the needful and make sure that we finish on time. We usually keep to the time. And I welcome everybody once again. As you are coming in, kindly go into the chat box. Just write your name, your designation, and other details you want people to know about you, so that we can actually track this and be able to communicate with people that we need to engage after this meeting, and we can actually use it as a platform again for networking. So if you have anything, if you are coming in, everybody that is on this call now, you can take that advantage. Just go into the chat box. You're going to see like a message box. Just say hi to everybody so that we can know that you are here. It's better that we do it that way, and instead of waiting for each other. So after you might have done that, it's going to be pleasurable to have all of us. And I hope in the next few minutes, actually start this section. And the IT team kindly do me a favor to make sure that Ambassador Joy is able to share his screen at the right time so that we will not have any delay. So again, thank you very much, everybody. And I know a lot of people are actually having some of the challenges. I welcome Professor Abubakar Sambo. Professor Abubakar Sambo is the Vice President, Nigerian Academy of Science, and at the same time, former Director General of Energy Commission of Nigeria. He's a world-class energy expert, and there's no way we want to be talking about knowledge economy without power. Former Vice Chancellor, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi, is a seasoned engineer and an accomplished administrator. Thank you very much. Prof, can you say hi to us?
Yes, good morning, Popola. I've been waiting 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Maybe you didn't notice I was waiting, but I'm glad you have let me in now.
No, it's the IT team. IT team, you can see your complaint, please. Don't delay people. Plus, kindly speak to us. Just.
Yes, I'm glad to be at this forum. Although you talk of energy is so vast, it's so wide. If I start talking about it, I may use up all the 30 minutes given to me. So I decided to just concentrate on what you asked me to do.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Mm.
Thank you very much. We're going to, so we are happy to have all our presenters, our lead presenters are ready, and it means we are good to go. So without wasting much of our time, let me attempt to see how, let me quickly see how we can work and invite the first speaker, because we have only 6 minutes to the top of the hour, and we don't actually waste any of our time. So the IT team, please kindly allow Ambassador Doi to be able to share his slide when it is 10 o'clock sharp. And before then, I'm going to make sure that we try as much as possible to read the citation in that short meeting. I'm receiving a lot of message that people are waiting in the lobby. Please kindly allow them in. We are the one that has invited them, and we know for sure that yes, some people are using Microsoft Teams for the first time. There could be some challenges. Please, IT team, kindly provide the necessary support at the back end so that we will not have any issue. Thank you very much. I think it's high time that I read the citation of Ambassador Doyle, and that is what I'm trying to do now, so that we can actually invite him properly to join us and lead the presentation, the first presentation. Sorry, a minute. What it, Sansify, can you forward back to me the citation of Ambassador Doi so that I can read from my hand, please? So you can do that on the WhatsApp so that we can go ahead with that, please. Kindly do that one immediately. Sansify, go ahead and share it with me again. I know I share it with you initially, but let me just have no, I mean the citation, not the presentation, the citation. It was in Word document. I mean, it's not an attachment. I'm waiting on you, please. Okay, so while we sort that one out, I think it is, we don't want to mix out the time. I think Ambassador can actually, His Excellency can share his slide now. If that could happen, I think I'll give him the privilege to do the intro. Then I will work on making sure that I have the copy back from him. I know he shared it with me on WhatsApp. Please, Ambassador, you can do the same. And
Yes.
we're going to display that. I think there was a mix-up on that particular document. So if you,
Right.
Can you share your slide now, sir?
I'm just about to share it now, but I can't see, I cannot get into my documents.
Can you see an arrow pointing upward?
Yeah, I can, and I've clicked on that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me have a look. Gallery, no, it doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, so can we share for you? Can you share from our hand?
Yeah, if you could please. Sorry about that. It doesn't seem to be functioning.
Okay, so Sanctify, can you share the ambassador's presentation? Knowledge Economy, Nigerian Top. That is the title. Sanctify, can you share that? Shafi, are you there? So I think he just spoke to me now. Sorry for the delay. He just spoke to me now that I think there is a challenge sharing the slide from his own hand too. And that will be a very great a challenge for everybody if you cannot share. So what we are trying to do now is to actually either see if we are keeping to this platform or we need to quickly change the platform. I can see it on my system and let me see. Okay, let me see if I can share from my end. Let me attempt to do that immediately. Because I can see the document here. So let me launch. Sorry for the technological glitches. It do happen like that sometimes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good morning. So which of the slides do we want to present now?
The one that has to do with Nigeria talk. Look at it. No, the
title.
No, that was the one that was sent this morning to you.
Okay.
The one that was sent this morning. Do you have it?
So I would quickly confirm.
It's entitled Knowledge Economy.
Knowledge Economy.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Can you share it now?
Yes, I will. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. So may I go ahead, Mr. Chairman?
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, renewed greetings to you all, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. Let me, first of all, out of protocol, recognize the presence of two distinguished professors, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos and the Vice President of the Nigerian Academy of Science. I'm very honored to be sharing this platform with you this morning, distinguished professors. Now, I'm going to be talking about the knowledge economy in terms of its implications for business, for management, government, public, private sector. I'll talk a little bit about the challenges, the criteria that need to be in place to optimize a knowledge economy architecture, because it's not going to happen overnight or in a fragmented fashion. Talk a little bit about the pitfalls. Talk about the key ingredients that contribute to the optimal implementation of a knowledge economy and its imperatives. Let me start off by saying that certainly in the developed world, knowledge has become in the last particularly 10 years a remarkably valuable asset. It is now an asset, even if it is usually associated with intangible characteristics that we normally associate the knowledge economy with. And by that I mean, rather than relying on physical input and natural resources, you're relying on human capital and intellectual property. So if we could move to the second slide, please. If we can move to the second slide, please.
Next slide, please. Next slide.
So while we're waiting for the second slide to come through, it's estimated in a recent study taken in the developed world that 74% of organizations, both in the public and private sector, estimate that the effective knowledge management system within their organization has the ability to boost the organization's productivity by anything between 10 and 40% on average. So it's not surprising that the corollary of this particular issue, that is to say poor knowledge sharing within an organization, again, whether it be public or private, can lead to very high costs for companies. It's estimated, for instance, in the United States, that poor knowledge sharing practices cost the Fortune 500 top companies something like $31.5 billion US per year in terms of cost, because of the poor structuring and implementation of the knowledge sharing practices. Now let's start with a generic level of definition here. The knowledge economy is an economic system that's only becoming an accepted contributing factor to economic growth, employment for youth, and also very commendable practices in the area, for instance, of e-health, e-invoicing, e-finance, e-education, and it's an economic system. Be clear about this, in which production of goods and services is no longer based on tangible transfers of economic factors, but it's based on principally knowledge-intensive activities. In many economies in Europe, manufacturing has been on the decline. There's less and less people working in manufacturing, and there's been a massive boost in people working in service industries across Europe. They all contribute, or at least the knowledge economy should ultimately, and also it can be measured in terms of advancing both technical and scientific innovation, but also in terms of innovation in business, consumer goods and services. So as I've said already, much greater dependency on human capital and intellectual property as a source of innovative ideas, information and practices. And again, this is not just about IT equipment or a knowledge of ITC. It's the actual intrinsic level of knowledge that is captured by the knowledge system that contributes to the knowledge economy, prosperity, jobs, innovation, etc. So there's less, obviously, reliance on physical input and natural resources, and the key role now moves to what we call intangible assets. Now, this provides, of course, advantages. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but equally, it has raised a number of deep concerns, at least in both the developing and the developed world. Some of the problems it has raised has been brought to the surface in the last year, 2 years, in relation to artificial intelligence, where the immediate worry, because the artificial intelligence is a good example of the knowledge economy, but the most immediate, if you like, concern by regulators, by governments, by state agencies, is that they can produce, artificial intelligence can produce unintentionally skewed outcomes and are open to abuse by hackers and others. So today, companies are still trying to develop artificial intelligence practices as a means of contributing to scientific innovation in the company or in the ministry, but they're taking it in very cautious steps. So the big issue, therefore, going forward is how do we identify the crucial factors that contribute to successful knowledge economy models, whether it be a business model or an economic model. So please, the next slide, if you wouldn't mind. So the knowledge economy, just again, should not be seen in isolation. One of the big, I think, failures by governments and by organizations is the failure to recognize that the knowledge that's acquired, that's collected, that's shared across the economy or the organization should be viewed as an additional, even complementary input to labor and capital. We will still need labor, albeit labor that's very highly IT literate, and we will always need capital. And getting that, that balance right between the knowledge economy, labor and capital is the trick going forward. And critical and central to all this is this notion of importance of skills in the service economy, whereas distinct from goods which are manufactured or agricultural cultivation, what is now needed is the development in educational curriculums all the way from junior school up to university level in terms of introduction and integration of intellectual capital and skills and computer literacy going forward. Unless you have that, economies will not be able to seize the opportunity to radically and very promptly introduce a knowledge economy. In terms of the corporate world, the emphasis on intellectual property is critical. A lot of companies develop their own knowledge systems, which are very key and specific to that organization. They must be protected in terms of intellectual capital, as well as patents, trade secrets, copyrighted material, which are clearly much more valuable today sometimes than the actual physical, tangible assets going forward. One of the other factors that I find interesting is that we're still struggling, 20 years after the whole introduction of the notion of the knowledge economy and intangible assets, we're still struggling with the notion of trying to find an accountancy system or a financial reporting system, financial reporting standards that captures the essence of intangible assets, quantifies it in terms of monetary amounts, and to ensure that it's fully integrated into the balance sheet and it can be used as a valuable asset going forward, particularly if companies are selling on their patents or selling their companies, or they're seeking to raise funding in the capital markets, on the stock exchange, or even in private equity. Having a valuable, well-established, credible, identifiable, intangible asset like knowledge or some knowledge economy characteristic can be a hugely valuable factor in driving that forward. Next slide, please. Now, one of the things that, again, I think is misunderstood is that the knowledge economy is not actually a new phenomenon. It's been around for some time. It was first pioneered back in the late 1960s by an American management author and now guru called Peter Drucker, who in his Age of Discontinuity, one of the key books he was to write, he identified the very early emergence, at least in the United States, which again was much further advanced than the Europe or Asia or Latin America or Africa at the time in the late 60s, in terms of recognizing the emergence and almost the massive rapid shift from manual work to knowledge work that was already taking place in organizations across North America. But governments and many corporates have been ill prepared to seize that opportunity, recognize it, identify it, quantify it, protect it, and ensure that the whole of the staff, the employees, have been sufficiently trained to be able to make effective and efficient use of the knowledge economy. Peter Drucker, by the way, was also one of the key proponents of the need to rely increasingly on data analysis. Now, today, data is gold. It's needed for every policy level decision by any government. Yesterday, for instance, I was speaking at a conference in Brussels about the future of Africa and where is Africa going in terms of entrepreneurship, the sort of challenges that Africa faces. And one of the key issues to emerge was the need to scale up massively the collection, analysis, and use and sharing of data, whether it be in the field of education, healthcare, innovation, and elsewhere. We still, not just in Africa, but even in Europe, we're still trying to catch up on this. The other area where Peter Drucker, of course, pioneered in terms of management principles was his management by objectives. In other words, getting everybody in the organization to focus on a goal at their level that contributes, as it were, incrementally to a sort of layered, a cascading level of management by objectives across the organization with data analysis and knowledge sharing, and you've got a very good foundation for building a prosperous organization or an economy, by the way, that makes good use of knowledge for the purposes of contributing to scientific knowledge and innovation. The other key contributor to this whole debate were two scientists called Johnson and Lundvall, who came up with this notion back in 1994, and we were still at the very early stages of introducing email and WhatsApp hadn't been developed. We weren't sharing knowledge to the same degree as we are today, but at the time they came up with a different definition of the knowledge economy, which highlighted, in their view, four very broad categories that that policymakers need to get their heads around. One is know what, is of the knowledge about facts, presenting the ownership of information, and examples include population of a country or history evidence. As with all information revolution, sometimes complex occupations like law and medicine remain highly demanding for knowledge and expertise under this particular category. So in other words, know what relates to who was the instigator, who is the owner of this knowledge. And we've, as you know, in the field of law and medicine, well, quite visibly, it's the experts who are qualified in this area who are the know what, as it were, characteristics. Know why is the study within the human mind and society at the base of knowledge of principles and laws of emotion. It concerns both theoretical research of scientific and technological fields, which is essential for allowing innovation in the production processes and product development in areas such as universities and specialized firms. It can reduce the error frequency in procedures. So why are we collecting this knowledge is a pretty essential issue. And I think all policymakers need to ask from the very beginning, why are we collecting this knowledge? Is all of it necessary? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's tangential to the actual characteristics, specificities of your business, of your ministry, of your economy. But for instance, if your economy is agriculturally based, and you are suffering from, as all countries in certain zones of the world are suffering from, climate change, droughts, water limitations. Clearly, the data under this know why category is vitally important. It's data on weather patterns, on rainfall, on runoff of rainfall, in order to predict the time of year when cultivation is the most optimal. So it's important to identify that particular know why factor. The know who refers to the specific and selective social relations. That is the identification of the key persons that know the solutions or are able to perform under very difficult scenarios. So finding the right people in the economy, in the organization, can be more essential than knowing the basic scientific knowledge for the success of the innovation. And typically, anecdotally, you tend to find that it's a handful of people in the economy or in the organization. And these people at senior level, the senior people in organizations at policy level should identify very quickly who these key people are. They're valuable, they're gold, they need to be cultivated, they need to be, as it were, risen to the level of knowledge collecting agents who can help to disseminate, both collect and disseminate information. Sadly, my experience has been we don't work hard enough and fast enough in identifying, particularly amongst the youth, both men and women, we don't do enough to identify the key people who have those valuable bits of information. And again, it's a handful of people that need to be identified very quickly and brought to prominence within the economy, within the ministry, within the organization, etc. The next area is the know-how. It's the individual's skills and experience to do different kinds of things on a practical level, that goes without saying, but it's also the ability for individuals to share experiences in groups with uniform practices. It constitutes what we refer to as human capital of enterprises. So the know-how it's fine to have it, but what's even more important is to be able to identify the individual skills and experiences which can be used, shared within a group in very sometimes uniform practices. And again, you know, the choice of IT equipment, software is an important element. I don't deny that. But again, going back to the human element, identifying the know-how linked to certain people and making and transforming it into shared knowledge in a uniform fashion where people can find it rapidly and make good use of it in terms of in terms of their work. Now, the World Bank had an interesting dimension just very recently. They've been very strongly in favor of promoting and promulgating the knowledge economy, particularly in the developing world and small island developing states. And it's come up with a pretty robust, in my view, list of, you know, what are the pillars that governments notably have to put in place to ensure that the knowledge economy actually does take place, that it's not forgotten, that it's not being, that the knowledge economy is not being imposed by some third country or some third party or big organization. It has to be an indigenous knowledge-led economy. And the first and most obvious, of course, characteristic is an educated and skilled labor force. The establishment of strong knowledge-based economy requires workers to have the ability to continuously, very important, continuously learn and apply the skills to build on this. So, you know, we're talking here about obviously IT illiterate people. That's very important. We still have large parts of the world, by the way, including in the developed world, where young people, people over a certain age, are not sufficiently IT literate. But the other fundamental issue here, if you look at the most successful economies in the world, Singapore, Israel, Taiwan, Ireland, Estonia, to mention Canada, all of these economies partially have been based on this pillar of an educated and skilled labor force. It takes time, sometimes takes a generation, but it's vitally important. Sorry, can we just go back to the previous slide, please? I will try and conclude as rapidly as I can. Thank you. A dense and modern information infrastructure. In other words, to be able to gain easy access to information resources in order to overcome the barrier of high transaction cost and to facilitate the effectiveness interacting, disseminating of information. Now, sadly, many countries, Latin America, the Caribbean, the Pacific Ocean, parts of Africa, do not have this dense and modern information structure. It does require massive investments. And let me say this much, this is where sometimes, you know, governments do need to open up the policy framework and allow experts and corporates or organizations that have this information infrastructure can introduce it, implement it, and become a partner with the government in terms of rapidly scaling up the modern information structure. Without that, without access, cheap access to the internet, for instance, you know, a knowledge economy will inevitably fail. An effective innovation system, in other words, within firms, within ministries, our countries, to keep up with the latest global technology and human intelligence so as to utilize the domestic economy. Now, two good examples of this are obviously artificial intelligence, notwithstanding its disadvantages. The other is the use of cryptocurrencies, which we need to get our heads around and also regulate properly. And also public-private partnership type arrangements. A lot of countries still need to make progress in this field if innovation is to take place, and you can scale up whole sectors of industry and bring with it employment. An institutional regime that supports incentives for entrepreneurship and the use of knowledge. This is where the countries I just mentioned have done extremely well. They've reduced the tax burden, they've reduced the social welfare charges, they have made it easier for young people to create a company in 24 hours. All of this can be done online. You get your ID number for the company, you get your VAT number, and you're in business within 24 hours. That is where we need to go in terms of encouraging a knowledge economy. Next slide, please.
You have 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so next slide, please. We're into the knowledge economy, the advantages and challenges. These are a list of very loose, if you like, benefits: improved organization agility, quicker problem solving, a better rate of innovation, supporting employee productivity. In other words, younger people coming into companies can get on board. They can onboard a lot faster. Sharing of specialized expertise, better communication, retain knowledge, very important. Probably of all those issues, I would probably say the latter two are the most important. Retaining knowledge. The problem with this new knowledge economy is that your best assets walk out of your building at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock every evening. And that's the knowledge that must be retained should those people move on, leave the company, and go elsewhere. But critically, it also needs a robust knowledge management system that is focused on critical areas that leads to the prosperity of the company. Better products and services, better strategies, reusing existing skills and expertise, and making most of organizations' collective intellectual capital. Next slide, please. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the limitations. I always say to governments and companies, before you even start or embark on this, think about the limitations you need to address. And things like finding ways to efficiently capture and record business knowledge is one of them. You may not simply have the IT systems. You may have a very hierarchical system in the organization that discourages bottom-up information sharing, and also information that comes from outside the organization. Making information and resources easier to find, and that's a function of training of people to be able to go online, check on various search engines for information that you need, motivating people to share, reuse, and apply knowledge. If that isn't existing, if people are retaining information and the culture is one of not sharing information, you will have a problem. So that needs to be addressed. Aligning knowledge management with overall goals of the business strategy. So again, it's the know why factor. Why are we collecting this information? Have we defined what information we should be collecting? Not everything is important. For instance, if you're in the medical field, clearly the information is of a medical nature and not anything else. Choosing to implement knowledge management technology, and that needs to be upgraded and maintained, and investments need to be made, and integrating knowledge management into the existing procedures to avoid digital gaps and silos. One of the things that we find everywhere, particularly in governments, are these knowledge silos. You get knowledge, you get very deep levels of rich knowledge lying somewhere obscure in some other part of the organization which is not being shared. That needs to be brought to the surface, needs to be institutionalized and shared across the organization. Next slide, please. So what are the factors you need to do now to get the knowledge economy working and function within your organization? One, you need a clear process to capture, record, and share business knowledge. Now that is not just about IT systems or about emails or WhatsApp. It's a system that is open to everybody in the organization. But you need to develop a clear process to capture this information. Define the scope and objectives of the knowledge. Why are we doing this in the first place? To what purpose is this knowledge going to be used? Creating a corporate culture of knowledge sharing, going back to that situation again, we need people to share information at all levels, the more bottom-up rather than a top-down approach. Consider the budget, strategy, training needs that must accompany this knowledge economy. It's a new budget item. It will require continuous training of people at all levels of the hierarchy to ensure that they are able to capture, analyze, and assimilate this information. Consider change management strategies for introducing new knowledge management practices. There you might need to bring in experts from outside to be able to give your view. Now, some of the other, I think, factors that I find interesting, and again, looking at those countries that have done exceptionally well across the globe, and some of them, by the way, are in Africa as well, who have done exceptionally well in capturing, innovating with on the back of knowledge management. And I can cite the example, for instance, of clusters of industries centered around particular geographical areas where you have IT-driven skills. The automobile engineering industry in Germany is one, computer technology in Silicon Valley, and the electronic industry in South Korea are a couple of examples. But there are smaller examples, like in Italy, where you get clusters of, in a region or surrounding area, where you get a cluster of people manufacturing, as it were, clothing products, but linked to IT, linked to accountants, linked to tax experts who work in a cluster, and that can be a very powerful system going forward. The World Bank has also been innovating in this field. It has taken an initiative a couple of years ago to connect Gambia, Ghana, Lesotho, Liberia, China, Singapore, Malaysia, which have very strong knowledge economy characteristics, to be able to learn about successful IT and knowledge-based development models and policies and implement these in the countries I've mentioned in Africa, in what we refer to as special economic zones. But again, I think the critical factor here, two factors. One, making sure that, the knowledge economy is backed by IT literate people. And secondly, the notion of getting that balance right between strategic autonomy in your countries. In other words, yes, we do need to be autonomous, but you need to create an indigenous level of knowledge economy. But there comes a stage where you are going to have to open up your frontiers to knowledge and innovation that comes from other countries, other companies, organizations with whom you can forge a partnership, scale up quickly, because you can't afford to wait another 4, 5, 10 years to do this. Sometimes you do need to partnership through a public-private partnership arrangement in order to scale up the knowledge economy in your particular country. And on that note, let me pause there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very, very much, His Excellency Ambassador David Doyle. I don't think we could have it better than the way you have actually put it. And I think, again, the way the whole program was actually arranged is to actually is for us to have the general basis for what we are discussing today. I think Ambassador His Excellency actually laid a very strong foundation and make a very clear case for the need. It's not a matter of want, it's a matter of need by nations. And it is not an issue of saying until when the whole country is ready. He made it clear, the cluster model. How can an area or a particular section, like the case of Silicon Valley, everybody speak about it. It's not the whole of American state that started trading or managing knowledge for value, but you can see what we know about California and even Silicon Valley today, that they are number 3, between number 3 and number 5 in the size of the global GDP, just a region. So that is the kind of value we are talking about. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Permit me to do the needful, even if he has actually finished the talk. to actually save some of our time, I will try as much as possible to read his profile, because it's just a right that we need to do the needful before we go into the next session. Again, in between, the moderator for our sections today, an associate professor of nuclear engineering, has actually joined us, so I'll be handing over to him, and after this, so that he can actually continue the moderation. Permit me to read the citation of Ambassador David P. Doyle, who is a permanent delegate to UNESCO. And Ambassador Doyle was nominated honorary consul to France and permanent delegate of St. Christopher, that is St. Kitts and Nevis, to UNESCO in 2006. He was raised to the rank of ambassador in 2011. He also follows discussion on behalf of St. Kitts and Nevis at the OECD Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of information for tax purposes. He is a former Irish diplomat based in Paris, with roles spanning bilateral and multilateral assignments, notably with the Irish Trade Board, now Enterprise Ireland, and OECD and the European Parliament in Brussels. Dr. Roy is the founding co-chair of the SIDS Committee of the Representative to UNESCO, 2006 to 2016, that's 10 years, and the president of the Cycle of Permanent Delegates and Ambassador to UNESCO, 2017 to 2018. He has also contributed to facilitating a dialogue between members of the European Parliament on behalf of the Eastern Caribbean embassies in Brussels, focused on building a better understanding of the Caribbean state needs in terms of technical expertise and funding from the EU. A board member of the Joint European Parliament EU industry body, the Kangaroo Group, and the secretary to his Financial Services Working Group. He also sits on the board of the Joint UK Cross-Parliamentary SME, the Genesis Initiative at Westminster. Dr. Doyle is a co-founder of the Global SID Leaders Initiative, associating with the UN family of organizations, the EU and sovereign small island developing states, in working towards a transnational approach to addressing SIDS development challenges. His authored work include Cost Control, a strategic guide, which was translated into 15 foreign languages, as well as contributing EU chapter to a practical guide to corporate governance. He has lectured extensively on management, accounting, and marketing across Europe, and the HECs and the ESSEC in France. Dr. Doyle alumni include Blackrock College Dublin, Technological University Dublin, formerly Dublin Institute of Technology, Trinity College, University of Dublin, Ireland, and Kingston University in the UK, specializing in finance and administration and business administration. Thank you very much, Professor Doyle. And I think we had this one as a very, very good starting point. Permit me to invite the moderator. I think all of us have actually taken our note. I've taken my own note, and it's actually like a page. So at the right time that we need to interact with Dr. Doyle, then we could actually ask our question and make some comments and clarification. So let me invite the moderator for this session today, Dr. Yakubu Viva. Dr. Yakubu Viva is a nuclear scientist. He's going to actually continue the moderation of this particular work today. And I think, Dr. Yakubu, can you say hi to us so that we can see that you are on? Or mute yourself and say hi if we can hear you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for the privilege to be in this meeting today. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So let me hand over to you now. And the next thing is for you to invite the second speaker in person of Professor Bola Obo to speak to us for another 30 minutes. And I think you have a citation. You can start reading a citation. While that is ongoing, let the ICT team get prepared to support Professor Bola Obo to share a slide if she can. Otherwise, just get it handy for you to share for all of us from your end. So go ahead, sir. Let me hand over to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Viva.
Thank you, Professor Popola. First, I want to apologize to this meeting for joining you late due to technical issues. I'm really glad. Unfortunately, I missed the distinguished ambassador when he started, but I took some few notes. So before I read the citation of Professor Bola, what I would like for participants to do is to take note of their questions. I think after the three presentations, we will go into discussion session. So take note of your questions, or you can write them in the chat box so that we can track that. So thank you so very much. And at this point, I'm privileged to read the profile of a distinguished professor, Professor Bola Abo. Professor Bola Abo is a professor of genetics in the Department of Cell Biology and Genetics, University of Lagos, and the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics and Research. She was born in Reading, United Kingdom. She received her PhD Plant Science in 1986 from the University of Ife, also known as OAU. She has her postdoctoral training at the Alabama A&M University, Huntsville, United States, and the Donkamp Institute for Forest and Landscape Planning, Wageningen, the Netherlands, between 1986 and 1987. She specializes in plant breeding and genetics with special interest in population genetics, conservation biology and genetics, environmental biology, genotechnology, and forensics biology. Her research career focused largely on biodiversity studies of local vegetables and tree crops, with a recent interest in chicken and mammals. Prior to her appointment as DVC Academic and Research, she was the Director, Research and Innovation of the university, where she oversees the activities of the office relating to capacity building, leapfrogging research activities, pre- and post-award grant support and administration, as well as research governance. She was able to work with other researchers in the university and collectively increase the grant portfolio to above 15 billion naira. She also functions as the director of the TEDFund Center of Excellence in Biodiversity Conservation and Ecosystem Management. She has authored over 70 publications to date in scientific journals and has mentored over 150 undergraduates, 30 graduates, and 9 doctoral students. She has Google Scholar citation of over 1,000 citations, an H-index of 17, and I-10 index of 28. Prof. Bola belongs to several reputable scientific organizations and has been serving as an external examiner to many tertiary institutions. She is critical reviewer for quite a number of scientific academic journals and is assessor to different cadres of academic staff in polytechnics and universities. She has, with some colleagues, attracted research grants from University of Lagos, S2B Innovations of Tomorrow, a World Bank project, Lagos State Government and Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund. She has vast consulting administrative experience, having served as the Managing Director, Unilag Consult Limited, in acting capacity from 2011 to 2015, and substantive 2015 to 2016. She serves as a member on TED Fund Research and Development Standing Committee, RDAC, National Standing Committee on the Evaluation of Foreign Qualification, Federal Ministry of Education, Tertiary Technical Advisory Committee, TAC, for the Technology Incubation Center, under the National Board of Technology Incubation, Federal Ministry of Technology. She was the chairman of the committee to set up the University of Lagos Microfinance Bank and currently sits on the board of the bank. She was one-time sub-dean, Faculty of Science, head of Department of Cell Biology and Genetics. She is currently a member of the Governing Council of the University of Lagos. Please join me to welcome our distinguished professor to make her presentation. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I hope I'll be allowed to share my screen now. Greetings to everyone, most especially the distinguished ambassador and the chairman, the vice president, Nigerian Academy of Science, thanking the moderator for this opportunity to share my screen and talk on the topic today, knowledge economy imperatives, becoming global citizen and digital initiatives. What is a knowledge economy? I think that has been defined by the ambassador, but I would just want to say that this knowledge economy is a system of consumption and production that is purely based on intellectual capital. It is the ability to be able to capitalize on scientific discoveries and applied research. And what that means is that it depends more on knowledge, information, high skill levels, and open access to all the above by both the public and the private sector. What is intellectual capital? Intellectual capital can be classified into 4 main areas: human capital, the organizational capital, innovation capital, and your market capital. And it will involve branding, the quality of the products, the intellectual property that is brought on board, and the customer service. The staff's knowledge, the skills that the staff in that organization brings to fore is very important at this stage, because that provides the competitive advantage that the organization would have when they want to utilize their intellectual capital. As I go on, I will be using examples because looking at this, I will want us to look at it in the concept of Nigeria and in the concept of the industry or the organization where I work, which is a university system. How will this apply to us? Intellectual capital is an asset that any institution would have at its disposal. And what does it do for us? If we can collect this information, all these informational resources, and it will drive our profits in the sense that we will become more self-reliant, less reliance on government for running of such organization. When we say we gain more customers, that means students will see value in that university for what you are doing, and you find more students wanting to come to your university for one program or the other. You will be able to create new products. The new products the university can create are new programs that are important for 21st century skills, and then business is actually improved. So intellectual property, we all know, is an intangible asset, but it contributes immensely to an institution's bottom line, in this case, to a university. One, it helps the university brand. It helps the university in terms of having more defined expertise in the area, and then the university is able to create and produce more information that will be required by the society. We are able to train students that will be able to work in the 21st century. We are talking of the 4th industrial revolution. So we are producing students that are able to have the needed skills to work anywhere, even in the world, with the knowledge that they would have acquired. For now, there is no standard way to measure intellectual capital. So like I said, intellectual capital will include human capital, information capital. What kind of information have you been able to put together in your institutional repository? What kind of information is there? What has the institution been able to do in specific areas? Are people aware of your brand? And then what kind of modes of instruction in terms of the university are you using? With the advent of COVID, how has the university been able to adapt working with students during COVID, even post-COVID, in terms of methods of instruction and all that? So how do we increase this intellectual capital within the university system? The mode of hiring our employees, our staff, I think needs to be improved, needs to be better. We need to define the skills that will be needed and be able to get the required skills to be able to perform the job. There needs to be regular training for people to be able to catch up. Most people have to develop a lot of ICT skills, so a lot of training needs to go on in that area. The culture of academia, needs to really be with the Nigerian system. We find that a lot of things has happened over the years, and the academic culture needs to be reinstituted in our academics so that we all know why we are in that place and that we are there to create and to advance knowledge and bring about solutions to problems within our nation. And then we need to establish a brand, and we need to go more into the innovation space so that patents, intellectual property, copyrights, a lot of those things can begin to be the basis of our research, not just research for publication's sake, but research for innovative purposes that will be able to bring solutions to problems in our communities, problems within our states, and problems within our nation. Within the academic sphere, knowledge economy can be described as the commercialization of science and academic scholarship. When I say commercialization of academic and of science and academic scholarship, I don't mean that it is for sale as such, but what I'm trying to say is that the knowledge you create, the innovations you bring about will serve the industry. And as such, there must be collaboration. We will get into that later. There must be collaboration between academia, the government, the industry, and our stakeholders. Our stakeholders will be either civil society, communities in which we live in. So there must be that quadruple so that you'll be able to, whatever is obtained from your research will be able to escalate into all those aspects of society. Innovation is also based on research. It could be patent, it could be copyrights, it could be proof of concept, but that is a key thing that is important in knowledge economy. There must be innovation. Research is not just for research's sake, like I said, but research to solve a particular problem. And so there must be an intersection, like I have said here before, between the government, between the industry, between academia, and even stakeholders, those that would be the benefit from the end results of our work. I would want to say at this point that within the Nigerian space, I think quite a lot is going on in the area, in this area. I would say that NUC and TED Fund have been driving this knowledge economy within the university systems in which we work. They have made sure that each university has an active research and development, research and innovation, whichever name you want to call it, office. And they have also gone ahead to make sure universities also have entrepreneurship units. And so most universities within the Nigerian space now are beginning to see the importance of this. The NUC and TED Fund went further. With NUC, they have quite a number of World Bank Centers of Excellence, which World Bank created across Africa. They are called the African Centers of Excellence, and Nigeria benefited from that, quite a number of that. And they are specialized in particular areas, and they are domiciled in universities all over the country. And TED Fund also has been able to institutionalize centers of excellence with universities, with polytechnics also, based on skills within each university, so that we can go really more into the innovative space, have more of multidisciplinary research, because it is through that multidisciplinary research that the innovations can come up. And with the innovation units and the entrepreneurship units, see how these innovations can be scaled up with students for commercialization and for generation of labor. So in the academic sphere, we will talk of knowledge economy will depend on your labor, will depend on strong communication network, how you incentivize innovation, and interpersonal skills and collaboration are quite important. With our focus on the knowledge economy, when you look at Nigeria, the focus has been on agriculture and manufacturing. And how do we do this? If we focus on agriculture and manufacturing, we know that with what is happening now, there's a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, going into both agriculture, and there's a lot of work also going on on additive manufacturing to support the manufacturing industry. But we need to have more technical research. We need to do more on our technical support, and we need to do quite some things on consultancy. When we look at knowledge economy, which has well been defined, which has been explained, which we have seen what we are doing in universities and the world at large in that space, who is a global citizen? Because our title today talks about knowledge economy, becoming global citizen and digital natives. Who is that global citizen? Well, the word was first coined in the 4th century among the Greeks. It means being cosmopolitan, being a citizen of the world. So that is what it is. And so it means that we are not talking of geographic, we are not talking of political borders now when we talk about the global citizen. So you can say it's an umbrella term for social, political, environmental, and economic actions of globally minded individuals and communities on a worldwide scale. What is the importance of global communities. Well, it creates an awareness of interconnectedness among people, societies, environments around the globe. And it helps people to be responsible and to contribute to a global society and economy. How does one become a global citizen? I think the most important thing is having the right mindset and be able to do things with people from different natives and cultural background. And so we need to be more connected, and we need to be able to understand cultures and perspective of others beyond our own. That is very critical. So what do global citizens do? They travel abroad for education and knowledge. They contribute to community efforts to advance education, health, and environmental conservation. And they solve global challenges as it occurs. And they have positive impacts generally on people and the institutions. For traveling, we can say that has been made easy by advent of COVID. We don't travel that much now. We are talking, and ambassador is joining us from Brussels or Paris. I thought somebody said he was in UK on the platform. So people can interact in different ways now. And what does for the global citizen, they look at our Sustainable Development Goals. The UN Sustainable Development Goals is much also related to the African Union 2063 goals. And so what do they really want to achieve? I think what they want to achieve is they believe that these Sustainable Development Goals are the goals that we need to transform our world. And they believe world hunger can be defeated, economic crisis can be eliminated. These SDGs are achievable. There's rights in equality, rights in racial, ethnic, gender, sexual, and economy, right all inequalities in those groups, recognize the power of advocacy, education, research, innovation, and development. When you look at the last bullet point there, that is actually what the university is out to do. Universities are out to do: education, advocacy, research, innovation, and development. How then do we have these global citizens within the concept of what we are established to do in the university? Well, we now see that the knowledge economy is important. We need global citizens, and then the digital natives still have to be recognized. So there needs to be a technological change towards an innovation drive to be able to bring all this together. We need appropriate organizational structures, skilled workforce, and able management. And we need to realize that just being able to read, write, and have a university degree are actually not enough for workplace performance in the 21st century. So a lot of interpersonal skills, both inter and intrapersonal skills, are important. The need for our students to be motivated and have the right attitude, the need for them to be flexible, ready to learn, ready to multitask, ready to adapt, the need for problem-solving skills. Creativity is key. It's one of the important, apart from being able to learn, creativity is an important requirement in the knowledge economy. Decision-making, innovation, those are all solving skills that our students need to begin to acquire when we talk about the mindset. They must be able to communicate effectively, and there must be analytical skills. Interpersonal skills, teamwork, and ability to collaborate in pursuit for a common objective. From different disciplines, they need to be able to come together and work together. They need to be open. Openness is critical because that is how you can share information. And then they need to acquire leadership capabilities. They need to have capacity to manage themselves, manage their time, and technological skills, ICT skills, coding. The world is full of data now, have data analytical skills, and be versed with all information technology, basic information technology skills that will be needed to drive the knowledge economy. What can the academic do to sustain a knowledge economy? I think in Nigeria, we are just coming up with this now, and we're driving this. And I believe that some countries within a short time have been able to drive it and have achieved, like Finland and all that. And so we must also be able to quickly come up with interventions within our universities, within our research institutes that would help drive the knowledge economy for Nigeria. So we must be innovative. Our education, our training, our curricula must be rejigged to conform with all the things that will be required for every discipline. It doesn't mean that we are doing away with those disciplines, but we are bringing in the innovation, the 21st century requirements into those curricula for the students to be able to understand better and see the need. So we need to develop smart global citizens, critical thinking, problem solving, and like I was talking about, relevant content knowledge. Environmental and climate change is key now. There's a lot of disaster risk management and preparedness skills that need to come on board. Sustainable consumption and lifestyle patterns, green technology, whether solar, whether wind. Green technology is important when we are looking at our energy. Professor Sambo is vast in that, and vocational training and education. Managing digital native and the future business enterprise. Well, we must be able to innovate. Innovation is the key going into the future. And then we must build on foundations of technology and data and have, there will be challenges. These are the challenges we presently face. A weak financial system, ineffective labor management. Overall, the educational attainment is not yet there. The quality of our tertiary education focusing on quantity, it should be more of quality and not quantity. What are the assessment modes we want to use? Accreditation, weak indigenous innovation capacity. Spending on R&D is quite low. And that has to be increased, both from government end and from industries. Maybe if linkages among governments, institutes, businesses, and are well defined and increased, there will be more funding. The regulatory frameworks have to be improved upon. And then increasing competitive and complication of the global environment, and then in the education inequalities. We have to mitigate. We have to be able to mitigate these strategies And that has been, education must be compulsory. We must enhance the quality of our tertiary education. Efficiency and quality of R&D must be improved. We must strengthen technology diffusion, and our regulatory regimes have to be improved. Well, we talk of the triple helix. That's the kind of collaboration we need. And then the next steps. The next steps for a knowledge-based economy would involve innovation, the business, regional, knowledge management in the organization, information and communication system, education systems. And I would say, like, for students within the universities must begin to look at how we can make them global citizens. And one of the things we need to do is to have partnerships with universities in the global south. These partnerships would help either by having online interactions or staff and students exchanges that would open in specific areas, that would open up the perspectives of our students, and it will also help the quality of those that will be graduated at the end of the day, for them to be more open and know what is happening in other economies, to be able to drive what is happening here. Well, the knowledge economy has to become a policy in our nation. Qualitative education must cut across all levels of our education, from even right from the primary education. We must begin to inculcate the ability to use the ICT skills right from primary level. There must be more collaboration between town and gown, and there must be reward systems for excellence across all boards. I would want to round up and say thank you very much for the privilege of being able to address you all today. I'm most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished professor, for a very wonderful presentation. We really appreciate your good effort in dealing with this topic on knowledge economy. You have dwelt extensively on the role of the university. I remember the distinguished ambassador talked about the how, which involves human capital. I think the university is very, very key. So you've talked about the areas of intervention by TED Fund, especially in the Nigerian sphere. No doubt, TED Fund has done a lot in our tertiary institutions, but more needs to be done at a national level, not just TED Fund alone. You've talked about the need for the quadruple helix in dealing with this issue, to be able to come together and solve problem, the academia, the industry, the society, and also the business partners. You've talked about incentivizing innovation. This will actually go a long way if people are motivated to take up research. That's a very good one from you. You also talked about, you focused on agriculture and manufacturing, how more research needs to be done in that sphere, and how technical support needs to be done, to be provided, most especially from the universities. You also talked about becoming a global citizen. You mentioned it's not by geographical nomenclature, but people of the world coming together to have the same social status, solving problems in the same environment. And you've told us how we can become global citizens, to have the right mindset, and also to be able to work in a diverse group of people. You've also mentioned that global citizens solve global problems. They identify problems in society and solve it, irrespective of the geographical location. You've dwelled on how the university plays a key role in getting to know, turning out the right people to contribute to the global economy. So, and also you talked about sustainability. Of course, the knowledge economy cannot be successful if sustainability is not factored in. And I'm very, very happy that you talked about having knowledge economy as a policy in Nigeria. As we stand today, Nigeria is a mono-economic country, and looking at these new approaches will be able to help us leapfrog from a mono economy to knowledge-based based economy. So thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation from one of our distinguished professor, Professor Sambo. Without much ado, I would like to read his profile. Professor Abubakar Sani Sambo is the chairman of the Nigerian Member Committee of the World Economic Council.
Energy Council.
World Energy Council. Thank you very much, my prof. He was the World Energy Council's vice chair for Africa from 2007 to 2013. Professor Sambo was the Director General of the Energy Commission of Nigeria from January 2005 to December 2012. He served as the Vice Chancellor of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, from 1995 to April 2004. In July 2011, Professor Sambo was named as the Special Advisor to the President on Energy. He worked extensively on renewable energy utilization, on energy planning in Nigeria, and has published more than 200 articles in journals, conference proceedings, and technical reports. Professor Sambo is a fellow of 10 professional associations, including the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Nigerian Academy of Science, and the Energy Institute of the United Kingdom. He has a 1979 first-class honors degree from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and a 1983 Doctor of Philosophy degree from the University of Sussex, United Kingdom, both in mechanical engineering. He is currently with the Faculty of Engineering and Environmental Design of Ahmadu Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto. Professor Sambo is the Vice President of the Nigerian Academy of Science. Please join me welcome our distinguished professor, a professor of repute, to deliver justice to the moment of today. Thank you very much.
Can I be permitted to share my screen? Is it there?
You can see your screen, sir. You can see the presentation.
I see it, sir.
The convener, the moderator, fellow speakers, and distinguished participants, I'm very delighted to be at this forum because of its significance in moving our country forward. Now, when the invitation was sent to the president of the academy, the president in turn contacted me, and Dr. Popola, of course, also contacted me. But the time I was contacted was rather too short for me to call a meeting of the appropriate committee of the academy. And so what I am presenting today is my own and not that of the Nigerian Academy of Science. Of course, I've tried very much to think in the way the academy would like me to think. Now, again, the convener gave me a list of 10 subtopics to discuss. Now, I look at the ambassador and the next speaker, Professor Bola Odo, and I thought he has probably given them the same 10 topics, and it will be monotonous for me to discuss, and it is exactly what I've seen. So I therefore, right from the onset, reduce his 10 topics to 5, and that's what I'm going to discuss today. Now, again, like I suspected, what I am going to start with has already been dealt with properly by the two speakers, especially Ambassador Doyle. So I think there is no need to go through. The only thing is that I will say that innovation actually produces inventions and technologies that lead eventually for manufactured products that are exported to raise the GDP of a particular country. And then again, I would like to use a number of figures that I picked from the internet. And like the other speakers have said, knowledge economy is not something that you can define clearly. It is intangible. It's not like manufacturing. And so there is some difficulty to determine exact price of the global knowledge economy. However, the size can be estimated by gauging its components. And one of the things that has been done, especially in the advanced countries like the USA, is to look at the total intellectual property market, which was about 6.6 trillion US dollars, information from the US Chamber of Commerce. And the intellectual property intensive industries account for more than a third of the GDP of that country. And the market size of the US education institutions is so huge, coming to figure like $568 billion. Now, again, something which I got from the internet is the Global Knowledge Index. And the Global Knowledge Index, from what I saw, is something that is reasonably well accepted as a measure of the knowledge economy. And World Bank has quite a lot of information. Wikipedia also has a lot of information. And this metric scores each country based on enabling factors for the knowledge economy, such as, like the other speakers have correctly mentioned, education levels, technical and vocational training, innovation and communication and information technology. Switzerland is the top-ranked knowledge economy nation with a total score of a figure of 71.5%, followed by Sweden and the USA with scores of 70 each. Now, the 10 top knowledge economy countries from the 2015 Wikipedia information in order of rank were Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Netherlands, Norway, Canada, Switzerland, UK, USA, Australia, and all of them have knowledge economy index more than 9. Now, while developing countries rely only on their natural resources, the developed nations rely, like it has been stated already, on both their natural resources and the knowledge economy. And in most cases, both have similar contributions. Nigeria, our own nation, is almost fully dependent, like Professor Odo has just mentioned, on the export, and the moderator also confirmed that, on the export of crude oil for foreign exchange earning. Whereas nations like Japan and South Korea, they have no known natural resources, but they're surviving on their human capital and their knowledge economy level. Now, I like to show this figure from the World Bank that has put clearly what knowledge economy index is and what knowledge index is. They are highly related, but you can see slight difference. You can see the economic and institution regime index that has come into the knowledge economy index, and then the issue of tariff, non-tariff barriers, regulatory rules, and the rule of law. Whereas that of the knowledge index alone is having some other components. I think we should note this as we move. To me, they are so related. If knowledge economy is high, it will dovetail into high knowledge economy index. Now, there's a figure that I think is very useful to us, and this is a global view of knowledge economy index by countries and region in 1995 compared to the most recent year, like is done in the GDP figures. Why I like this figure is that it has very strong similarity with energy consumption per capita, especially electricity access. You can see the African nations are down at the bottom. Latin America and Middle East and North Africa, they are about middle. Europe and America, they are at the top, exactly with energy consumption pattern. Electricity access in particular, where electricity access of sub-Saharan Africa is 500 kilowatts per each person per annum. That of the world, average world, is 3,000. So you can see the similarity I'm talking about. And when you solve the energy issue, I think it's a big way forward towards addressing the knowledge economy matter, and indeed all other issues like education, like industrial production, like agricultural production, because agriculture for food security and for commercial activities requires huge quantities of energy. Now, let me come back to the knowledge economy profiles. As we all know, a country like Japan produces Honda and Toyota cars that are all over the world. In Nigeria, they are all over every town, every street you go. You find so much so that these brands are also produced in assembly plants located in several countries, including in developed countries, in UK, where I did the PhD at the University of Sussex. There's a big Honda plant there, not too far from the university. And when the assembly plants are located, mostly they will be one form or the other of the raw materials. Now, South Korea's innovated ICT products, such as Samsung telephone, handsets, televisions, and many other gadgets, are found all over the countries. And these countries earn substantial percentage of their incomes, more than 70%, on each of these gadgets purchased in any part of the world. Now, coming to Nigeria in particular, I want to say what we should do is to compare Nigeria with other African countries. And again, I look at the Wikipedia 2015 Knowledge Economy Index information, and I saw that in Africa, South Africa, Tunisia, Namibia, Egypt, and Botswana had the best Knowledge Economy Index, ranking from 57th, that's for South Africa, 71st position, that's Tunisia, 84th position, that's for Namibia, 84th position, that's for Egypt, and Botswana had 85th position. Unfortunately, our own country was number 118 in that table. African countries, from what I have scanned through, I saw their knowledge economy index was slightly less than 6, that's for South Africa, and down to about 2 for Nigeria. That's very bad compared to developed countries with knowledge economies of 9 and above. I think we need to strive harder to move the situation. Now, let's look at the Nigerian education. Now, innovation, as we all know, is a product of well-articulated, focused, and organized curriculum. A robust knowledge economy is the desired outcome of a purposeful education system. And Nigeria's technical education suffered a crash. I am strongly of the belief the 6334 did more harm than good, because it scrapped the technical and vocational colleges, which we all know contributed significantly at that time and it downplayed technical and vocational education. Furthermore, the engineering, technological, and science faculties of Nigerian tertiary educations, as we all know, as is one of the major problems of the academic staff unions with the federal government. Their laboratories are substandard and highly promote the desired creativity and innovation. And then the last point here is saying that Nigeria's educational institutions hardly attract foreign earning and have insignificant contribution to the GDP, like institutions in neighboring country of Ghana and the other African countries like Egypt and South Africa. This is not saying that some of us, I have also received some grants from international agencies. I know Dr. Yakubu Viva received several grants from the International Atomic Energy Agency, like me, but that's just a few compared to the size of the country. So when you are talking in general, I don't count those few spots that they are good, of course, but they are not enough. Then again, looking at the researchers and innovators industry linkage, I want to say first that innovations, as I have already had in this forum, are products of ideas that have been translated into prototype products that have been tested and become novel products that are manufactured in large quantities to provide a needed service. And the tested prototypes are patented for purchase by manufacturing industries that must produce them. This is what one of the things Professor Bola Obo mentioned. There's not just selling, but selling the patents. And I think it's good that innovators from institutions focus and do a lot of this. Therefore, we can say a robust manufacturing sector is key to our knowledge economy. The research industry linkage in Nigeria is weak with very insignificant outcomes. Now, in order to build and implement a normal knowledge economy in our country, there are several building blocks. And number one, I think we should have a very good set of policy and strategy documents on the administration of patents. The second, we should have capacity for production of prototypes produced by innovators. Right now, the situation is very pitiful. And then we need to have a robust innovator industry linkage, like Professor Bola has just mentioned. And this will take us to put the three together: the good patent administration, the policies, strategies, regulations, along with the capacity to produce prototypes, and then linkage with the manufacturing sector that makes the well-known triple helix. This building blocks, triple helix, in recent times, it has been extended to quadruple helix by bringing in the communities. I'm glad to say that I am a member of TED Fund's Standing Committee on Research and Development. Indeed, the committee has 13 thematic groups, and I am coordinating the energy one. We are taking this issue very seriously there, and I should say TED Fund has to be commended. And recently, I met the new ES while we were waiting to take a flight out of Abuja, and he confirmed to me the committee is very much there. It will soon start doing things in line with our initial plans. Now, I like to show this diagram to give the pictorial view of these links between the patents, between in the laboratories and the industry. They're all interrelated, and unless and until we put things together, the country is not going to make significant headway. Now, I want to now come to and take this issue of good patent administration that I was emphasizing. Now, of course, I'm sure you will all agree with me that the situation at the moment is weak to me. And the main reason is that patents are currently issued by the Ministry of Commerce and Industries, and the processing of applications after very rigorous efforts by our researchers and innovators takes unnecessarily long time to be completed. And institutional innovators, from what I have gathered, are not recognized in the current patent administration regime. To me, the patent administration should be domiciled at the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, which is a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. That's where it should be. And then a good patent administration should competently also do the following. The first one is to identify novel prototypes and intellectual properties for patents to be applied for them, and then to link innovators to the appropriate industries for purchase of their patents. Again, you should link innovators to workshops, organizations, these interventional organizations like industrial development centers and the national incubation centers where they can produce the appropriate prototypes. I should quickly say that the IDCs are there, but the NICs now are all under the National Board for Technology Incubation, which is one of the key parastatals under the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. And if this is strengthened, I think the patent administration will in turn be significantly strengthened. Then the capacity for prototype development by innovators, as you say, should not be limited to schools, polytechnics, and universities alone. Innovations can come from any strata of the society, and the capacity of innovators to produce prototypes of their outputs currently is, as I indicated earlier, lacking in our workshops, in the workshops of our educational institutions. And the purpose of the IDCs and the NICs is to cater for the inadequacies of the facilities of the educational institutions. Now, I want to quickly say that a robust industry innovator linkage, number one, the innovators' prototypes will not contribute to the knowledge economy until and unless they are mass produced in the industry and sold domestically and, more importantly, to international markets. And then secondly, the various small and medium enterprises manufacturing hubs that we know abound in Inewi, Aba, and Kano, for example, and a few other parts of the country are involved in copying the original technologies to produce substandard versions that are competitively inferior to the original product despite their lower cost. These activities can't qualify as knowledge economy as misunderstood by many, but I am of the strong view that they need to be significantly improved. And this is where the combined intervention of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the various chambers of commerce and industry will become handy. And this has to be done in order to encourage those manufacturing hubs, like I mentioned, at Inewi, Aba, and Kano. This is how it started in Japan. If those of you who read widely will know that when Japan started producing its own vehicles, they were being laughed at in UK and USA. But today, now, UK and USA are providing spaces for Honda and other brands to produce, to manufacture in terms of assembly plant in UK and USA. So if we follow the same trend, we can encourage Aba, Inewi, and Kano to raise the standards so that the copy technology could now become something that we eventually will become proud of. Now, I want to move towards the end by saying that, of course, Nigerians are very competitive. but the structure to translate their innovations into economic benefit for themselves and for Nigeria is weak. Apart from strengthening the education curricula, the 4 steps depicted on the right-hand side of this slide are essential for facilitating Nigeria's transition to a knowledge economy nation, even without a viable manufacturing hub. The first one is to identify existing novel innovations. And here we need to note 3 points. That is high score for innovators, that is patents in the promotion of staff, those staff that are in polytechnics, universities, and research institutes, and few other places. And then again, this should be taken into consideration in the National Universities Commission ranking of institutions, and then of course to hold an Innovators Week in each school to promote identifying of innovations. I think I should mention that when I completed my second appointment as Vice Chancellor, I was VC in Bauchi for 4 years and 5 years. So in my 8th year, the then ES of NUC, Professor Peter Okebukola, said he is inviting me to come to NUC to do something on research, because on his 2 occasions of visiting me in Bauchi, he saw that I was very much interested. So I came to the NUC and I told him we need to do National Research and Development Fair. And the purpose was to bring all the products, all the innovations for the private sector to pick 1 or 2 or 3. That was what created the NURES-DEF, National University Research and Development Fair. I understand it's still on, but not in the way we started in 2004. Then the second point here is linking innovators to the industrial development centers and the incubation centers. And here, NOTAP, IDCs, and ISC will stand very handy. Then the third one is testing and verification of the innovation so as to raise their quality, and several are needed here. The NOTAP that I mentioned, the small and medium enterprises will come, especially SMEDAN, and then we have Manson and Naxima. And the last one is linking of innovators to in-country and international industries. That can be done by several parties. Now, distinguished host, moderator, fellow speakers, distinguished participants, I want to round up by emphasizing that Nigeria indeed has all it takes to tap into the knowledge-based economy because of the ingenuity of the Nigerians, which has been recognized worldwide. However, the structure for achieving this is weak at the moment. The suggestions contained here can significantly galvanize existing organs of government to partner with appropriate private sector to launch Nigeria into the knowledge economy state. Lastly, I want to say, apart from strengthening the education curriculum, the following steps are essential for significant improvement of the knowledge economy status of Nigeria. 1, identify existing novel innovations. 2, linking innovators to the IDCs and TICs. Number 3, linking NOTAP, SMEs, Manson to test and verify innovations for further improvement. And lastly, linking innovators to in-country and international industries. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, my distinguished professor, for that very wonderful presentation. You have driven home your point that without energy, nothing can be done, especially in the sphere of knowledge economy.
And moderator, quickly permit me to say that I want to correct the notion that green energy is only solar and wind, as Professor Bola mentioned. It also includes nuclear, because nuclear has no carbon dioxide emission.
Thank you very much, sir. I think later in the discussions, I will take you on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So it was a very, very good presentation, and thank you for your very good observations. Like I said, I think our 3 speakers today talked about the role education plays in knowledge economy, for Professor Sambo in particular, he was able to show us the relationship between knowledge economy and knowledge economy index. And he used that to drive his point that without energy, knowledge economy is mostly baseless, because you need energy to be able to drive research and so on and so forth. He also talked about the fact that Nigeria, in terms of knowledge economy, is lagging behind since it cannot attract grants to be able to enhance our GDP. So he talked about the building blocks of the knowledge economy. I think he looked at the patent structure in Nigeria. Our capacity to produce prototype is very, very inadequate. And also he talked about industry to produce and commercialize. So really, for us to have knowledge economy, these three must come into play, which he dealt with extensively in his conclusion. So also he said Nigerians are very, very innovative, but we cannot translate this into economic benefit. And he went on to suggest various ways in which we can translate that into economic benefit. So Professor, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. And like I said in the discussion, we'll be able to talk about energy. You know, in Nigeria, energy is very, very epileptic, and there's no way we can talk about knowledge economy without energy. Recently, the cost of gas has really gone up. Even in our offices, we find it difficult to provide electricity because of cost. So you can see that energy is very, very key. Some experiments, they need light 24/7. Some equipment, they need light 24/7. The ICT equipment, they need light 24/7, which is really inadequate in Nigeria. So I think your thought on all these issues as the discussion kickstarts will be very, very important. Before I open the floor for questions, I think I would like to read from one Olushola Gegele, who is a participant here. He talked about there is no, the quadruple helix does not exist in Nigeria. So we should learn how Indonesia takes out its people from poverty. I think the three speakers will reflect on his comment, and as we go on into the discussion session. So without too much waste of our time, I will throw the discussions open so that as we took notes, we'll be able to interact with the various speakers. So thank you very much. So any questions?
Moderator, there are two hands up already. There are two hands up already. Just check.
What is your name?
Yeah, so let me take from Professor Olufumilayo.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, ma'am.
Hello. Morning.
Hello,
Good afternoon. Hello. Can you hear me now?
We
Good
can
morning.
hear you clear and loud, man. We can hear you clear and loud.
Thank you very much. I thank you for inviting Professor Zambo to this discussion for today. And he's a part of the nutrition committee. In fact, he reviewed it. When you started, I think I was one of the first set of people to win award in 2004, 2005 from that program. Until today, I've not gotten a single support from federal government for my project awards in 2004 and 2005. And secondly, Professor Sambo is part of this Energy Commission for Nigeria. Why is it so difficult for us to generate energy in Nigeria? Despite the sunshine all over us, despite the wind all over us, despite the water all over us, and yet it's difficult to even produce more than 500 energy consumption per head country. I think I feel so pissed off that we have so many people in authority in position to really push this country forward, but we are still slipping or lagging behind. People will expect that we'll do something beneficial for the masses, acquiring all these things for their own personal use. It's unfortunate. Everybody has solar in their own homes, in their own businesses, but the country is lagging behind. What can we do, please? So many of us are tired of talking and talking in this country. It's getting too embarrassing for Ghana, South Africa, to be the laziest in Africa. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ma. I don't know, Professor Sambo, can you make comment?
Okay. I was thinking that we'll take a few, but let me respond. That I'm
Prof,
very
I think
glad.
it's better that Prof, it's better that way. Like moderator, please, maybe you just take like 3 or 4, then you can take the response, so that if they are related, our speakers can treat them together, so that it will not take much time.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I think they are just all hands, but I'll be able to take them. So please, Idowu Diola, can you have the floor to ask your question, please?
The presentations have been very, very enlightening and very scholarly. I have about 3 important issues to mention from the presentation. When we talk about knowledge economy, I believe that there is no way we can rule out our higher educational institutions. And looking at the system in our higher educational institutions, we have what we call CWES, that's the Student Industrial Work Experience Scheme. I see this as a very good fulcrum through which our knowledge economy in the country could be expanded. But it appears as if in that area, I'm talking of industrial attachments and internship and things like that, little is really coming out of that. And from personal observation, I see the aspect of funding and monitoring of that program. So what can we do in our educational system to, build capacity and then to strengthen that aspect of our education? I see it as a very opportunity for us to develop when we talk about employability, when we talk about GDP, and we talk about industry, institutional industry linkage. It's a very, very good system that can build us. So please, what can we do in that area? That's number 1. Number 2, Professor Abubakar mentioned the issue of C334 system, how it's affecting the educational system in Nigeria as far as technical aspect is concerned. I want enlightenment on that. I am thinking that C334 has done a little good. I don't know, but it appears as if from your presentation, you mentioned that it is scraping out the technical aspect of education in Nigeria. Number 3, the last one, sir. You talked about Aba, Kano, and some of these other cities where some prototypes are being transformed. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. You mentioned Aba and Kano and other places where prototype. I feel that as a nation, what do we do to improve the intellect of these people? They are trying to do something out of nothing, if I'm right to say it that way. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to work together where they are using fake products or substandard products like the Standard Organization of Nigeria and other bodies like that. What can we do to enhance them, to support them, to encourage them, that we will also be dependent as a nation? So those are my 3 views. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Idowu, for your question. Let me take the 3rd one before the presenters make their comment. Please, Olushola Gegele, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, moderator. Good morning, everybody. My name is Olushola Gegele Yahaya. Prof, good morning, sir. Oh, it's 1 minute to afternoon. I met you a few weeks back through Professor Pauline Guta. I was in your office in Abuja. Yeah, I put on the questions inside the chat room, and I totally appreciate you for your submissions or your presentation right now, sir, because exactly what it gives me joy when I see what you just present to us now, because I know there has been a big problem and a disconnect within the educational policy in Nigeria, where I don't know, probably it's what we are trying to look at, if there could be a change of policy in terms of, you make mention about the rewarding in educations, which I think the government is not doing enough. A situation whereby most of the projects, the PhD theses from the universities are not being challenged to see how they can be more effective to our own environment. And in terms of what we regard as comparative advantage, it's a big problem. Secondly, is I'm looking at how can we leverage on indigenous knowledge from our rural community, whereby we live most of all these people in abject poverty. And I'm looking at a situation whereby when you look at the insecurity in Nigeria now, it's as a result of I want to talk more on the educational benefits of the youth going into the rural community, where I was talking about the Indonesian approach, where mandatorily the agriculture and most of the science students needs to go to their rural community to see how the old women are doing the things and how they can uplift and showcase all the asset-based mineral resources in their community, and how the government can realize that, oh, we have a comparative advantage in this area. It's another big thing that I'm actually looking at. If it's possible for the government to change the policy and make sure there is a connect between the rural community, the tertiary institutions, the governments, and the private sectors, to see how the student can have a research and showcase what we have in our rural community, instead of the so-called foreigner coming into our space and not staying in the city, going into our community and tapping a lot of resources, whereby we neglected them in the rural community. That is again. Then when you talk about the intellectual property with the NOTAB, I don't know if intellectual property, I would say it's a benefit to us in Africa, or rather than we look at open source as another better advantage, and whereby we can monetize or pay a royalty for someone that have an open source, whereby you can share 95% of your research open, people can copy, but the 5% research, they have to come through you. Probably that would be the key, instead of intellectual property, that when you have that, it doesn't leave people out of poverty, whereby it's only give advantage to few people. I'm doing that in Nigeria at the moment, where I train people how to assemble an oxygen concentration machine of 20 LPM. It's an open source innovations. The research is on oxykits, whereby we have 20 LPM that can serve 4 mild patients. And when we have a patient on COVID, we can treat him with our machines. So I'm making it open and partnering with the Federal Ministry of Health, where I realize only few people in biomedical engineer knows how to use zeolites. To even produce zeolite lithiums in Nigeria, it's a big problem, whereby there's a lot of grant from the TED Fund going to different institutions in producing this. So having said all this, I'm actually looking at a way where your policy, because when you end your submission, you said we need to change the policy. How do we make sure we engage the government, the Ministry of Education, and probably the NEPSIM Bank to see how to release funds from the government and make sure they reward best researcher in the research in the tertiary institution. And I so much appreciate when you talk about competitions, where I'm actually looking beyond competitions. I'm actually looking at trade expo, international trade expo within our tertiary institutions to showcase what we've been having and how we can generate effects whereby other countries can come into the country and see comparative advantage where we have, and they can partner with those students from the tertiary institution. So having said this, it's going to reduce a lot of students looking for white collar job because they are already incubed from the tertiary institutions. So I came to realize that critical thinking is a big problem in our tertiary institutions, whereby most of them, they go to exam hall during the final year to just memorize and pass, and they come out with 2-1 and first class. And after a few years, they cannot defend what's the result they have. So we need to change the way we think. So I agree with you when you talk about the 6334, it's a problem. Vocational study needs to be included in the systems of the education of government. Thank you so much. That's my submission.
Thank you, Mr. Olushola. I think I will allow space for the presenters to make comments, and I will take the two remaining questions. Then I will now ask my question at the end. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes. I think more of the questions are directed to me. So can I start?
Very well, sir.
Thank you very much for all these questions. Professor Adebambo, I note your questions. They're very significant questions. On the issue of this NURASDEF, it's a pity that you were recognized for 2 years and nothing was given to you. That is totally not what we recommended when I was heading the team that produced the first edition. But I should quickly tell you that when we started 2004, shortly after that, I did not complete my 1-year sabbatical at NUC because I was appointed Director General of the Energy Commission just 2-3 months thereafter. And that is why I could no longer control. And of course, Professor Peter Okebukola left the NUC. He was replaced by Professor Peter Okoji. With me being in a different place, I couldn't push to make sure that all our recommendations are implemented. But what I have noted is that recently, with the establishment of the Standing Committee on Research and Development at TED Fund, I also recommended that to the ES. ES can now team up, ES of TED Fund can team up with NUC to improve NURASDEF, to make it much better. And that will even dovetail into the trade expo that Yahya Gegele is now talking about. So I hope when the TED Fund and NUC pick up this issue of showcasing the innovation of Nigerians, this issue will be solved. And it's a pity if that you are reward for 2 years. I don't know what happened. If I can have details, maybe I can intervene with the current ES of NUC. I see him from time to time. I will push him. It is really unfortunate that researchers who did very well, who were picked out and recognized, and then prizes that were promised were never given to them, is bad. To me, it's like something bordering on 419, which educational institutions or their supervisory bodies should not be doing at all. So if you can permit me to have a little bit of details, I can intervene the little way I can. Now, on your second question, the Energy Commission of Nigeria has produced numerous plans and has done numerous pilot projects to showcase the beauty of expanding the energy mix for electricity generation, which several other countries are doing to significantly move their nations forward. As I'm talking to you now, Ghana's electricity access is 85%, the same as Kenya, where South Africa is about 94%. All North African countries have near 100% access. The issue of Nigeria is lack of implementation of recommended plans, and this requires political will at the highest level. Unfortunately, our political leaders are not enforcing the decisions to improve the situation. In 2008, I was appointed leader of a team to partner with Brazil on energy. And we went there twice, spending 10 days each. I recognize this political will very clearly because the Brazilian leader will not allow any minister to rest until he achieves the directive given to him. That's what we require, political will at the highest level. And now part of what we've been recommending is being implemented. I'm sure you are aware there is this energizing education project, and some of our universities are having plants, mostly solar plants, gas power plants, that is providing near 24/7 electricity. And my university, Sokoto, is benefiting from that. I know that the university in Ebonyi is also benefiting. The Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, also has a solar power plant. The same with ATBU. Federal University of Petroleum, Efron, also has. I know that Ibadan and Lagos opted for gas power plant. So gas is a bit more difficult, but those with solar are benefiting. That's phase one. I know the REA is moving to phase 2 of this project, and more universities are being included. I understand some of the universities that are not in phase 1 are also pushing to have the solar power plants. I think it is coming slowly, but not fast enough. I should quickly tell you that it's nothing magical. We can get these embedded power plants beside large municipalities that are heavy load centers. Embedded plants could be from modular nuclear reactor or could be from solar power plants, and they will just feed into the ring system and provide near 24/7 electricity. We can have these off-grid plants in locations that are far from the grid, and they can provide near 24/7. All that is required is the political will. And when I say political will, not the president alone, but the minister of power and his key people. But when you have the political leaders who just issue a directive and don't follow and insist, like the Brazilian case I mentioned, where the president holds weekly meetings with key groups. The energy group that we went to dialogue with them, they said every week president hold 1 hour meeting with them, no long grammar. He will say, last week we decided this. You, equivalent TCN, why have you not stopped collapsing of the grid? Prepare your handover note. You are going to resign next week. And then the TCN MD will not sleep for 1 week until he solves it. That's how he has been doing. That's the kind of thing we require in Nigeria. It is doable and it can be done. Now on Ido, I want to quickly say COS is not working because of so many reasons. You know, the industrial manufacturing sector in Nigeria is down, and there isn't much activities there. Those that are working, unfortunately, they see the students as nuisance, and that this has made the government and some of the regulatory bodies like the COREN, Council for Regulation of Engineering, and the Nigerian Society of Engineers, I know they have decided, and Federal Ministry of Education seems to have accepted, that there will be regional industrial training hubs where all the major industrial activities will be fully equipped in that place, so students will come there. And recently, it was also included that some of our lecturers that supervise students on COS will also be trained and be paid. They do their sabbaticals in these major institutions that are being created, do their sabbatical there so that their own industrial content is raised. So I think with time that will be addressed as well. Now, you mentioned 633. My concern, the 6334 is good in some aspects, but in terms of technology and innovation, it is bad. It has downplayed that. That's the point I was making. And then this issue of Aba, Inewe, and Kano, I have already stated to you, what is required is for these bodies to encourage these producers of the substandard products so they begin to increase their quality. Is to encourage them, not to discourage them. So I have stated how it can be done. Gegele, I'm glad, yes, You met me at the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Association's office, and we discussed quite a lot. I'm happy you are moving. This, your indigenous technologies you are talking about, we need to be very careful. What do you mean? Do you mean my grandmother, when she was alive in the village, that she was doing sieving using how she was producing groundnut oil to sell in the market? Is it this kind of producing this dadawa? What do you call it, Ibrahim? Viva, what do you call dadawa? Maggie, local Maggie. Is it the ones you are talking about? So if that is the case, I think a lot is being done in those directions right now. The women producing Gari, on the way, when I was newly appointed as the Director Energy Center in Sokoto, 1989-90, I used to travel to Lagos Energy Commission for meeting. So I travel down Ilorin, Ogbomosho, and I see the women producing Gari, cassava and so on. These are all being improved. So what else are you talking about? We need to be very careful. A lot is going on. That's why you can see the Gari thing. Even Chinese have taken it. I'm sure you saw some WhatsApp video clips. That's the kind of thing that is happening. We should also go into it seriously and improve it so that it will be much better. The old women are doing a lot. And one thing that I should like to mention very quickly is that when you now go to India, you see the barefoot college, they call it, where old Indian women are being taught how to take care of solar panels, solar photovoltaic applications. They are doing it beautifully, very diligent, better than the Indian men. So these are the kind of modern things are being done. That barefoot college, I've been trying when I was in Energy Commission to get the UNDP to build one or two, and I understand they are still thinking of doing this because women have been shown to be very good in looking after this, can I say in quotes, smaller technologies that require a lot of attention. Now, the issue of NOTAP that you mentioned, well, this your intellectual property stroke open source. I think there's nothing that is just concluded or conclusively finished. No. If you have a good suggestion, I advise you approach NOTAP. If you have difficulty, you already have my contact. I will introduce you to NOTAP. I'm in touch with them. I'm sure they will listen to you with open ears and probably take your open source system. There's nothing that cannot be done. Now, this release of funds is not just release of funds like that, but there is the Presidential Committee on Innovations. The Secretariat is in Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. If you have produced something, you can apply to that unit. They will send, shall I say, they will send people to come and check your work. I have served in several teams to check claims of Nigerians. On some cases, we have recommended the technologies be supported. So if your own invention is certified as capable of moving the country forward, that Presidential Committee on Innovations will provide the fund to move you. But it's not just you say you have an invention and they say, here, take money. It has to be certified. Lastly, this issue of trade expos, you are going back to this, to a certain extent, is this NURESDEF? On another extent, you know, there's this Nigeria, there's one agency, National Agency for, it is promoting and import in the country. So if you go to that agency, if you Google, you will get the name, exact name. It has just escaped my mind, but it is under Federal Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It is handling that. So those aspects that are matured to be promoted, they always send it out all over the world. And I think it can be done. Moderator, maybe I'll stop for other colleagues to also. I see even newer hands.
Thank you so very much, sir. I think because of our time, we need to be brief.
Yes.
There are a few questions that I need to ask. Our distinguished speaker, David Doyle, is eager to speak to us and make his comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to comment on the, the political policy framework of the Nigerian government, but I did want to pick up on something that one of your distinguished speakers mentioned, and that is this sense of concern, reservation about foreign companies coming in and occupying the space where the knowledge economy could prosper. And I just wanted to say that, if you look at the most successful economies across the world, with perhaps the notable exception of the United States, which has its own indigenous, innovative culture, the small to medium-sized states have had to rely on third country or foreign organizations with expertise that they don't have. And this doesn't necessarily have to be, doesn't necessarily have to translate into, diminishing your strategic autonomy, which I fully understand you want to retain, and quite rightly so. But it does mean that you need to indulge in a very structured public-private partnership with, and the private partnership may have to be a foreign entity. But all of that can be negotiated. Rules, guidelines are now well established in terms of those public-private partnerships that work, those that don't, particularly in Africa. There is a need to ensure that both parties have worked out the ownership structures, the degree to which you need guarantees against money laundering, the highest possible international standards in terms of environment, social and governance arrangements, and also the allocation of risk, as well as the reallocation of revenue streams and costs. All of that has to be worked out, but quite visibly, if you're up against a time constraint, as many countries are in terms of establishing and scaling up the economy, the Nigerian economy, to be leading edge in terms of the knowledge economy. One way of doing this, in my view, which is very attractive and very compelling, is to look for an appropriate foreign investor who can become your partner in terms of scaling up the entire activity. That's all I really wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, David. I think if there's no comment from Professor Obo, I will go ahead to request the three other participants that want to ask their question. Professor Obo, any comment from you, or I can go ahead to...
Yeah, so I don't want to repeat what the other distinguished speakers have said, so I think we can go on with other questions because our time is limited at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma. Thank you. So with this, I will take a question from Professor Akin, then followed by Festus Dairo. Please, let's be brief because we have a question from the convener himself as well.
Thank you very much. It has been a privilege listening to the speakers. One key thing I still believe we should bring to the fore on this platform is the fact that we are aware the institutions where innovations are drawn are supposedly to be drawn from, talking about the universities, research institutes, agencies of government that are saddled with bringing about innovations. They have on the shelf. On the other hand, there is, remember, these are agencies or bodies that are funded by government. They have their outputs on the shelf. And then when you go the other way, you also see the policymakers, ministries, and then agencies of government that are supposed to be managing other areas of government. they also, when innovations are to be sourced, rather than go to the research institutions, to the universities, and all these other agencies of government, they set up a committee of their own to bring about innovations, or sometimes, like we've listened to today, externalize, sending people abroad, you know, to be trained or to know what other institutions are doing. And on one side, some of these things that they have gone out to study could be on the shelf of the agencies of government or institutions that they are funding. On the third part, the end users, permit me to use the example of the industries now, who are supposed to assemble, take advantage of the innovations that are coming from all these sources. What do they do as well? If there is any of such that has a research and development unit or department, they also now commission agencies, most of the time sourced from outside, to also get, technologies that are already available within the system. So it's a situation of everybody doing its own thing. There is no harmonization. I think what we should be doing now as a country is to bring about a linkage. We talk of triple helix, we talk of several models, but we have not actually put it into practice such that A knows what B is doing, B knows what C is doing, and there is a link that can move us forward. How do we bring about this in an attempt to make progress? Thank you very much.
Your question, please, Dr. Festus Dairo, can you proceed with your question, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Actually, one of my questions had been asked, and the second one had been somehow touched. But I still want Professor Sambo to, because he mentioned innovations from some clusters of regions in the country. And my question is this: what are we doing? Because I believe it's very close to government. What are they doing to ensure that these clusters of regions with innovations can be improved upon? Because like he talked of Japan when they started, and now UK and USA, they are providing land for them to manufacture their vehicles. I also remember Taiwan. Today, they are giving us good products. How can we improve on what these people are doing? And then, of course, we scientists too must have a change of attitude towards what they are bringing out. This is my question. What can we do? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The convener, Dr. Popular, please, can you go ahead with your question? Then lastly, I will ask my question before you round up.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. I will not take much of the time, but I can quickly say that it has been a very, very robust and interesting session. For us as S2B Nigeria, this is part of our own approach of doing advocacy and getting it straight from beginning, because as we move to new year in 2023, we're going to turn S2B to a project-based engagement going forward. So I will just quickly speak to some of the comments that were made and the important notes for some of us. In as much as, yes, I'll come back to come and make sure that we clean up this section and round it up. The first one has to be community-based R&D by university or graduating students. I think it is high time we try to look at our indigenous technology, really. And I think from our experience, what I've seen previously, working with some colleagues in even Kenya over there, is that there was a particular period where we focus on the aggregation of the indigenous technologies in that country, and we see those that are scalable and those that are expired. So really, for the first time, we need to actually have that database as a country, and let us see what our researchers can do with them. What will be the impact of a university or a polytechnics in a particular environment, and its impact are not being felt? What is the essence? So can we localize some of these our research and let us see if we are solving problems right away from there? So I think that will be impactful. If we have over 200 universities in Nigeria today, and we have 774 local governments, and each of them look at their local government as part of the catchment, we can actually start fixing problems. And then we produce graduates every year. And what are those graduates? What are going to be their, why is the environment feeling that the university exists? So, and that's the fundamental principle of universities cities that were created across the world. That's why you see even in the US, some of the university cities are small, they are very small city, but it is the university that has brought impact and development to those communities. That should be a model. Open source versus intellectual property, very key. Really, I think it's going to be another subject of discussion on this platform. We're already looking at working with people across Africa to come up with what we call the Open Access Summit, whereby we are going to educate a lot of Nigerians about what open access and open science is all about. Today we are doing science and we are not doing citizen science. I think there's a lot, there's a gap. So we need to bridge that. We are clear about it at S2B Nigeria, and that was part of what we are bringing to board. It's amazing that we don't have people that belong to much of the people from the academic community joining this platform to actually see that we are speaking about the future of the academy. So really, I want to believe that as time goes on, we are going to create our own community. Even if it's going to be only 50 people that are going to be productive in the country, we're going to work with them. We are clear about what we want to achieve. Then Education Ministry plus NEXIM International Expo. Yes, agreed, that's going to be supposed to be another level. Again, when we are talking about knowledge and we are talking about collapsing the geographies. So a lot of what Nigerians get income from now, actually, we expect it to be exportable. So, and we have NEXIM. What has been the relationship of the research and development ecosystem in Nigeria and NEXIM? So if there's no relationship, are we speaking to the right people? So I think for me, it's noted and there's something that we can look at. Change of leadership in Nigeria. Must it be a cause that somebody should leave an office? And because he left an office, the whole project of that person should collapse. What kind of attitude is that? It's not done anywhere in the world. I think it just shows our level of, I don't know how to put it. It's our level of development. What we are talking about here is it has been generational, but it is traditional in scope. But it should not be historic in such a way that we are going to compromise our future. Somebody leave an office. That's why in the NUC, when Professor Sambo was talking about what happened to the award, is it because he left that the award? Is it a good idea? Can somebody move it forward? Everybody is facing this kind of challenge, and it becomes very, very difficult. Even in the university system, the vice chancellor left, another one says, no, I'm interested in this. I mean, what kind of lie? So I think there must be a deliberate effort. Again, you can't challenge authorities and the constituted authorities. Rather, you can create parallel platform. And that's why from next year, we are focusing on creating community of practice in Nigeria. Let us even model it. Let us see if we can have 2-3 areas that we want to be working and want to be known for on the continent. And on a private sector basis, we are tired of all these things. We can't continue this way. How are we going to take 1,000? They say 1,000, some, I mean, if you are traveling and it's going to be 1,000 steps, you start with 1. Some people take 11, some take 500. Somebody is taking you back to 0. What kind of, I mean, we can't continue that way. So I think what has more work in the country is that we've seen models across the world that are leveraging on private sector. Maybe we're going to put it into practice and see what it means. The reward system in Nigeria is vague because we don't understand what reward means. So I think people just sleep and wake up and talk about reward. And that's why when you look at public sector versus private sector today, where the reward is being paid per measurement, then definitely you are going to see the difference. You can't be talking about political will when we are not considering performance measurement. But what we are actually working on is management by objective. Management by objective is what our public service still do a lot. They are going to tell you, this is my mandate. Can you quantify that mandate? What is that mandate you are talking about? You say somebody has crossed to your own territory. He has moved from one place. What are you talking about? In the territory you have, what have you done? So who has measured what you have done? Okay, how people get promoted. So because they have used 3-4 years at a step and he was sleeping throughout that period, and somebody has been in a place, he has been productive within even 9 months, he cannot be promoted. Again, these are issues that I think we need to actually be serious about when it comes to knowledge economy. If we want to continue what we are doing before, which is still leading us to nowhere, then that is when we can be talking about just doing anything anyhow. But going forward, I think these are areas we want to be very, very concerned. The reward system, and we are using this year actually to model science to business in Nigeria. We are going somewhere with it. From January next year, for our community that we are going to develop, we want to be clear about who are they going to be interfacing with and on what project can we do. Yes, we could not do anything outside the scope of government, but at the same time, there are ways you can work with government, and when you are not asking them for money, you can actually move very fast. Again, thank you very much for everything, and I think the silo thing that Professor Adesanya mentioned is critical. There has been a lot of attempts to collapse the silo, but again, we are still looking at a lot of silo here and there. That is our own way of saying by 2023, when we will have our registered membership of Science to Business Nigeria, we're going to see how we want to create our own community and see how we want to work with them. It is about making effort in your own cycle of influence and cycle of concern, no matter how little. So we are deliberate about it, and we are using this to gather data. And at the same time, we want to enlist and aggregate all the needs. Then we know where we are starting from 2023. On this note, I say thank you, and I will come back to do the wrap up when if I'm invited. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Moderator, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments and addressing one of the questions about collapsing the silos. I think there's one question that we have not addressed, which is cluster of regions of innovations. How do we improve the capacity of these people? So I think Professor Sambo mentioned some of them in Kano and other states. So I think we are yet to comment on that.
So if you permit me, I can make some comments on it. So because I think, yeah, Professor Sambo mentioned this. You see, one thing is that all these things, if we want it to be sustainable, it must be private sector driven. The people we are actually producing from the university or colleges of education, they are going to work in the private